Hello, everybody out there. This is Jacob. I'm tuning in from Vienna in Austria. I'm the CEO and co-founder of TrainingTopics.at. We are the major source for startups and innovation here in Vienna in Austria. And I'm looking forward to speak to Otto Pison of InoBat, a company that is working on battery technology here in Europe. Otto, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you very much for the invitation and the opportunity to speak here today. I'm fine, yeah. Working from home is probably a lot of
So
people
I think we are
listening
not
in.
far away. Great, yeah. We are not far away. I'm in Vienna, and I think you are in Slovakia, so that's just a 1 hour drive away. And yeah, these days, I think maybe we would take a regular car, but in the future, well, a lot of people do it right now. They drive battery electric cars. And your company, you are working on battery technology. So can you give us a brief overview on what kind of technology you are working on right now?
Okay, great. So yes, that's true. So we are expecting, or the whole world is expecting, actually, that e-mobility will take up. We came into a segment that it's constantly growing. Actually, it should grow 17 folds the whole market demand in Europe in the upcoming only 10 years. So the market there is very interesting for us. You asked about the technology and what we are dealing with. So what we are aiming to do is produce batteries for electric mobility solutions, and this does not include only passenger cars. So e-mobility has a very broad kind of like aspect to it. It includes buses, commercial vehicles, trucks, planes, ships, and so on. All of these transportation vehicles will sooner or later try out alternative powertrains, and the reason for that is the fact that transportation is a huge emitter of CO2 emissions. Actually, it's 30% of all European CO2 emissions come from transportation, and 70% of that come from road transportation. So we said to ourselves at InoBat that why could not we contribute to the efforts to make a greener planet for us in the future? And a bit more about us and our background. Well, we come from Slovakia. I mean, the people who know Slovakia know that we are a very strongly automotive-focused country. We are the biggest per capita car producer in the world, so we have a very strong industrial heritage. However, what I think is the topic of also this conference is the fact that the CE region, wants to move out from its shadow of being a manufacturing powerhouse, and more companies are making their own proprietary, products which are capable of penetrating global markets, and we want to go this way, obviously, and this is why we're so strongly focusing on R&D. And the other thing is, I mean, Slovakia is heavily reliant on automotive. Mostly it's international companies that are based in Slovakia. So we said to ourselves, why couldn't we be a Slovak company that is going to, break out from this industrial heritage?
Okay, that's interesting. So can you give us a brief overview? How does the business model of InoBat works? I guess you work together with a lot of OEMs, but yeah, can you give us a brief overview?
Sure.
Some details on how the business model works.
Yeah, no, it's a very valid question, and how our business model works. It's very closely connected to our unique selling point, and our unique selling point is the following. Well, a lot of the incoming battery producers that are coming to Europe, and generally those who are supplying only passenger car makers, they have applied something that can be called like a catalog-driven approach. They make a standardized cell or a pack. They go with it to the car makers, to the OEMs, and sometimes the OEMs are more or less forced to accept the catalog that is brought to them. How we are different is that we have our kind of like own proprietary chemistries that we mix in a way that the battery has parameters that are tailor-made to the needs of our customers. So we make rather, like tailor-made solutions compared to catalog approach. We do this through something that we call the high throughput process. This is an R&D process where you can instead of only synthesizing like one mixture of chemistries and analyzing and testing them and analyzing them, you can actually do this simultaneously with hundreds of materials, and you can then test hundreds of materials and outputs and then analyze these outputs. And if you have so many, like combinations, in the end you have a database where you can then compare these outcomes. So we do this together with our US research partner, Wildcat Discovery Technologies, with whom we have an agreement. And in cooperation with them and our R&D center that is currently being built in Slovakia, we will be able to research these special tailor-made battery chemistries quicker and cheaper as our competitors, and then obviously build them at scale in Slovakia, which has its unique location close to the OEMs, and also from the perspective of labor costs and labor pool availability is still like a good option to be located here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. So if you look at the European ecosystem of battery technology, of course, there's a lot of things going on. We also can talk about a little bit later. But which role does InoBat take in the European ecosystem, or do you rather look to the United States or Asia?
I see. Well, obviously, if you look at the battery business, the products are quite heavyweight and they're large. So it makes sense to be established in a kind of like an automotive hub where you can then bring the finished products to your customers in a relatively effective way. So this means that we won't be at the moment, or we don't have current plans to be shipping to the US or the Asia. This is why also the Asian battery producers are bringing their production facilities to Europe. If you look at the European ecosystem and what kind of role we want to play there, the answer is quite straightforward. So obviously Europe is moving very strongly towards e-mobility. The European Commission or the European Union set like very high emission standards for all the car plants and so on. So everyone's going in this direction. The only problem with this was that the European proprietary battery technologies weren't at a level to be mass produced a few years ago. And this was a huge market opportunity that South Korean and Chinese battery producers or American battery producers kind of like are managing to fill. Yeah? And there's nothing wrong with that. So thanks to these battery suppliers from other continents, actually it helped the European Union to kickstart the battery transformation towards EVs. However, I think it's important to have for Europe to have their own battery producers with IP coming from the European Union, and this is an opportunity for companies like Northvolt, Britishvolt, or InoBat or other European battery producers to actually support this European technology sovereignty.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned before, of course, there are a lot of things going on, especially in between the partnership of Volkswagen and from Germany, of course, and Northvolt from Sweden. So do you think that with Northvolt, we have a European champion in battery technology?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,